Greetings WIS families and welcome to another WIS technology tutorial. In today's lesson I'm going to be talking about the iPad. But first I'd like to give a big thank you to the 6th grade parents who attended a recent meeting on the one-to-one iPad program. We are looking forward to distributing iPads to your sons and daughters and working with them in class. So having a device like an iPad can be a bit scary managing at home, and we're going to give you a few pointers of things you can do to gain back some of that control if you're a little concerned about some of the access they may have on a device like this. So first off, I'd like to talk a little bit about restrictions you can enable on the iPad. So the restrictions are located here by clicking on Settings, and then in the General tab, if you scroll down just a little bit, you'll see the restrictions are right here. Now when you turn these on, you have to, of course, enter a passcode that should not be shared with your son or daughter. Now when the restrictions are green here, if you see these green buttons, this is indicating that the restrictions are, it's accessible. The child is allowed to use Safari, the camera, FaceTime, so on and so forth. So the only one we really recommend on these top options of actually turning off and disabling would be the deleting of applications. The reason this is important is because if your child installs an application that perhaps is not appropriate, this will prevent them from deleting it, and then from time to time when you pick up their iPad and look, this can lead to a helpful teaching moment or a conversation regarding appropriate use of the device. So this prevents the adding of apps while at school, deleting before they get home. If you try to prevent them from installing apps, this will hinder their ability to install apps on demand as needed for school purposes. So we really discourage the restriction of installing apps. Likewise, you may be interested in preventing the websites that the content they can access via specific websites. This is tricky because if you limit adult content, you end up blocking too many things. So things like the New York Times or websites that could be used for school purposes will also be blocked. So this is trying to find the balance is something that you'll have to work out with yourself and your child. And perhaps another bit that might be interesting to you is Game Center. So if you're concerned that your child is playing perhaps too many games with friends and being a little too social with the device, you can actually turn off the multiplayer games and the adding of friends in Game Center. So these are some restrictions that you yourself can put on the device that can help you feel a little bit more in control of what's going on with this device. Now, another option is something called guided access. Now, guided access is really intended to prevent the type of multitasking that leads to a lot of time wasting. So say, for example, your son or daughter has to write something that doesn't require, for example, research or browsing around on the web, but they just need to write a journal entry or something that requires a single application. Guided access is perfect for this because it prevents them from leaving that application. And here's how you turn it on. So in the General tab, you're going to see the accessibility feature here. If you tap on accessibility and scroll down just a little bit more, you're going to see guided access. And when this is turned on, it can add a shortcut by triple clicking the home button, right? So the home button is this one down here. And when you hit it 3 times, this is what happens. Actually, let me exit first settings because it's not going to turn on in settings. But I've enabled guided access, and I'm going to exit. Let's say we're using Pages to work on an assignment. So I'm going to create a new document. The blank document. And now at this point I'm going to enable guided access, which will prevent my child from leaving this particular activity or assignment. So now by triple clicking the home button, this one down here, right here, I'm going to hit it 3 times. Guided access has started. So now as I try to click and do other things, notice at the top it says here guided access is enabled. And I'm stuck here, so I have to be here and do my work. And the only way I can exit is if I triple click this home button again and enter in the passcode. And what's nice is I can even set up a time limit. So I can say guided access will, once it's enabled, it'll last for, we'll say, I'm going to turn it on. Maybe I'm turning it on for 1 hour. And what the timer does is it basically says guided access will be on for this 1 hour, and it'll end. And when it ends, it'll ask for the passcode. So essentially, the device, this is especially useful at nighttime, is disabled after 1 hour, and it will ask for that passcode to be entered. Now, this even prevents the student from turning it off and turning it back on and getting out of it. Because even if you turn the iPad off and turn it back on, it'll go right back to this screen asking for the passcode. So again, guided access is simply used to lock the student into one application. And again, this isn't ideal for every use case because at times students will need to be using multiple applications. But for homework involving a single application, this is a great way to help them focus on the task at hand and not be sending iMessages or Instagramming or things of that nature. So these are just a couple of things that you have at your disposal to have some control over your child's iPad. And again, we do suggest periodically to just pick it up and look through the apps and ask questions about how they're using the iPad. And we definitely are looking forward to some of the creative things they'll be able to produce with this device in school. I hope this information has been helpful, and thank you for watching. Bye.